how do you, like you only had a few days off in between, but how do you turn that case off when it's done, put that aside, and then get ready and prep for another case that might be stacked in a day or two on your schedule?
Yeah, in order to do that, you have to be prepared up front. A lot of lawyers, you'll see, they do the proverbial blow the dust off the case file and do their prep on the plane over, and that happens when you have too many clients. When you're a bottom feeder and you're taking these low dollar cases, you're taking everything possible to build your practice or whatever it happens to be, you cannot do the type of prep that needs to be done in order to win these trials. And so you really have to forward project what needs to happen. And so if I've got a trial and I know I've got one 2 weeks later, it is a complete misconception to think I'm starting to work on it in the interim. Before I get on a plane and head out, that case is 90% done. I mean, the cross-examinations are basically written or drafted out. The opening statement, I have a good understanding of it. I understand how the cross-examinations are going to look, what the theory and the theme of the case is. If we're going to do slides for PowerPoint for closing, sometimes we do that. Those will mostly be built. And so when we're on the ground, we're really in the red zone, just need to punch the ball in. And so once we get on the ground out there, what will typically happen is we'll do final in-person interviews with all of the government witnesses, because oftentimes we'll have just had the opportunity to interview them over the phone. We might have interviewed them in person, depending on the location. So you're going to do those final interviews to make sure that what you believe they're going to testify to hasn't changed. You're going to kind of feel them out one last time. You're going to work with the trial team to do any final preparations and make sure you're ready to go for trial. But if you're just starting your prep, and trust me, a lot of lawyers do this, they will jump on the plane and start prepping the case a couple days before because they're just too damn busy, or I don't want to say it's lazy, they're just oftentimes too busy. And that's what you get when you hire the bottom feeder attorneys who do these cases dirt cheap, because it's just a reality that time equals money. If I take a case for $100,000 and another lawyer takes one for 20, I can take one case where they have to take 5 to make the same amount of money. I'd rather take one case for a higher fee and dedicate all the time, effort, and resources I need to win than be screwing around with a bunch of bottom feeder fees and losing cases. I mean, I'm just not in that position in my life anymore. I'm just, frankly, I'm not. And so when cases go long or they get extended, you've got to adjust, and you've got to have that mental horsepower to be able to adjust on the fly, because nothing ever goes as planned. You can make the best battle plan in the world, and it never goes as planned. It's like you're going to have a game plan for a ball game. It never goes that way. I mean, it never goes the way you plan it. So you have to have kind of a backup plan, a contingency plan, and you need to, again, have that mental horsepower to adjust fire as necessary. So when cases go long and now my 5 days of prep turns into 2, well, you have to be able to adjust for that. And if you need, and you have to have a big piece of that is the preparation ahead of time. Again, I say it again, it's so true that if you don't plan ahead of time, and if you have an attorney with just way too many cases and they're doing the prep on the flight over or 2 days before, if anything changes, they're not going to get screwed, but you are. You're going to get screwed because they're not going to have done the proper prep. They're going to show up to court unprepared, and it's going to be obvious to everyone, and you're going to go off to prison. And when you get hauled off to prison and get shackled and do the perp walk out to the police car and get taken over to the brig, they're jumping on a flight back home, or maybe they're drinking Mai Tais with their family at the bar that night because they were there for the family vacation. They don't care that you're getting locked up. And that's a real problem, especially with so many civilian counsel coming online. It seems like everyone gets out of the JAG Corps and says, oh, I tried 6 cases. I was defense attorney for a year and a half. I'm going to go open up a practice and try to, start my practice off. So what do? They can't compete with guys like myself, guys like Mike Waddington, people that have been around for a long time. And so they charge these dirt cheap fees. And we tell you what, you get what you pay for because money buys time. That's just the reality of it. Money buys you time, and cases take a hell of a lot more time than you think they will. And if you don't plan for that ahead of time, you're just going to end up in jail. If you're going to end up in jail anyways, you might as well save 15, 20 grand, use the free military lawyer, because you're going to need the 15, 20 grand when you get out and you're a registered sex offender, and you've got a felony conviction and Walmart won't hire you. You're going to need the 15, 20 grand more than that lawyer will. So if that's the plan, just go ahead and save the money prepare for prison, or maybe you won't go, but give yourself the best chance possible. If you're under investigation under the UCMJ, stop talking to all of your friends about it and start talking to a lawyer about it. You can call me at 813-669-3500 or look us up at BileckiLawGroup.com.